Hello team, and greetings from the Republic of South Korea, the ROK. I am Lieutenant Colonel Chris Peterson. I want to thank Mr. Magno and Ms. Hoopman for inviting me to speak today. This truly is not only a privilege, but an honor that I do not take lightly. So on behalf of all the veterans from the Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, Coast Guard, both active and reserve, thank you for allowing me to address you briefly today. First of all, I'd like to take a little bit of time and talk to you a little bit about my uniform. I get asked a lot of questions about that, so I'd like to give you some insight onto why I joined the military, and then conclude with thoughts about Army values. As soldiers, we know those Army values by the acronym of leadership. So, on to my uniform. First of all, when I was your age, I never dreamed of being in the military. But I did like being in the Boy Scouts and learning all types of life skills that scouting taught me. Plus, I thought the campouts were pretty awesome. But because I was in Boy Scouts and I was able to collect most of the merit badges, I think that's probably why I was prone to why I like to stay in the military. And that's why I stayed in the military after I joined. So let me show you a few of the badges that I wear. The top one is the Expert Field Medical Badge. Now, that means I was able to pass a very rigorous and stressful tests in field conditions on medical tasks. This next one is the Airborne Patch. That shows that I'm able to parachute out of airplanes successfully. The next one is the Air Assault Badge. That one means I can use a rope and rappel out of a helicopter and get to the ground safely and continue my mission. But it also means that I can secure cargo onto that same helicopter. That's called sling loading, so that we can get those much needed supplies into tough locations quickly wherever they're needed. And then this recruiting badge, that helped me clarify and helps me understand why so many people probably joined the military, and specifically the Army. But what probably kept people in the military more than anything else was the Army values and the teams that they were able to develop. So going back to the recruiting badge, we use another acronym. It's called TEAMS. That helped us to determine what type of things that people were looking for to get out of the military. So the T stand for travel, education, adventure, money, and service to country. So for instance, travel was my big one. In 1987, my very first assignment in the military was at Tripler Army Medical Center in Honolulu, Hawaii. So if you've ever been to Hawaii and you've seen the big pink hospital on the mountain there, that's Tripler, and that's where I started out. That was pretty cool to me because I grew up in Utah, which is surrounded by desert. So now all of a sudden in 1987, I'm on an island surrounded by water. And my job as an orthopedic technician was the precursor to further educational opportunities. And I was later selected for a Green to Gold scholarship. And that allowed me to complete my bachelor's degree and also a commission as a second lieutenant in the Medical Service Corps in 1993. After some more military education down at Fort Sam in San Antonio, Texas, my career as an officer began at Fort Carson, Colorado, and eventually, after many other assignments and being all around the world, here I am today, some 24 years later, as a lieutenant colonel and as the chief of medical operations, otherwise known as the S3 at Camp Humphreys here in Korea. So I've had a lot of opportunities to travel and to see new places in the world. So besides all of my military education I've received, which I received up to my master's degree on the military's dime, and as you can see from my patches, that I've had a lot of adventure. The money is not so bad for an officer, but I think the main reason why I stay in the military is the service to country. And so a little bit about the Army values. I'm happy that you started this ceremony today with a flag ceremony, and I understand that you said the Pledge of Allegiance and possibly the National Anthem. And those are some things that are very near and dear to my heart, and especially the American flag, the National Anthem, the Pledge of Allegiance, and the American Constitution. These are all tie in very nicely with the soldiers' values, and more to follow on that. So going back to a couple of the patches. The patch on my left sleeve, that is the symbol of the unit that I'm currently assigned to, which is the 65th Medical Brigade, which is assigned here in Korea. The patch on my right shoulder, that's the patch that I've been to combat. This is the unit that I went to combat with, which was the 3rd Medical Command. I went with them in 2007. The reason why the flag is backwards is because that simulates when we're running into battle and we're following our guide on, the flag will stream to the rear, and that gives us our guide on, and that's what we're following off into battle. So the U.S. flag, it means a lot to most veterans. Unfortunately, it probably means much more to a veteran than it does to the typical civilian nowadays. And as soldiers, we stand and render honors for the flag whenever the flag goes by in parades. We salute the flag in the morning and at night as we start and end our day with our formations. It reminds us of our national anthem. It's where in the grip of battle, the soldiers that came before me and that did all the possible, including many giving their life to ensure that the flag did not fall to the ground in defeat during some of the most mightiest of battles. The United States flag is a symbol of our country, and it's a symbol that reminds us about the 13 colonies that stood up to tyranny and just rule by a faraway king so that they become a nation. The stars, they symbolize the 50 states that currently make up our republic. They indicate that each state, whether it is small or large, has the same amount of voice. And the flag that represents to all citizens reminds us of the republic of which it stands for, which is one nation under God, and most important to me, with liberty and justice for all, as our Constitution dictates. The flag is a symbol that regardless of where you come from in the United States, it reminds us that we are one team. It reminds us that essentially we are one American family. You know, there's a country song out there that states you've got to stand for something or you'll fall for anything. So soldiers, when we see the flag at special ceremonies, soldiers proudly stand to show respect to the flag and all that it represents, especially the fallen soldiers that died to give us the opportunities that our Constitution affords Americans. Our country is a country that is made up of a very diverse population, and so is our military. But I believe it's our Army values that I can attribute to how a military that is made up from people from all over the world so that they can unite and become one of the best fighting forces in the world to protect our great country and our citizens. And while I was deployed in Iraq, a story that was shared with me while I was visiting a hospital in downtown Baghdad, I think demonstrates this. As I was being shown around the hospital, which on one side of the hospital was full of wounded enemy soldiers, and on the other side of the hospital we had wounded civilians that had been injured in the fighting. One of the nurses told me that one of the wounded female patients was amazed to see females and people of all different colors and backgrounds working together as one team. She wanted to know how Americans were able to do that. And I'm convinced that it's our Army values that enable all sorts of people, despite their backgrounds and differences, to unite as one team. So what are those Army values? Well, we use the acronym LEADERSHIP. That's, to the Army folks, that's Lima, Delta, Romeo, Sierra, Hotel, India, Papa. The L stands for loyalty, which means that not only are you loyal to your country and your flag, but to your peers, your friends, and your family. For soldiers to your unit and the country. The D stands for duty, so that you do your duty even when somebody doesn't tell you to, and whether or not somebody is watching you. You do your best to fulfill your obligations, and you do them freely. The R is for respect. Respect is not only for your teachers, your bosses, seniors, or elderly people, but this means to your teammates, to your other family members, and even to those you don't agree with. Just like the Pledge of Allegiance says, with liberty and justice for all. The S stands for selfless service. Selfless service means that there's a cause bigger than yourself, that you do things to help other people without the benefit to yourself. The H stands for honor. This means conducting yourself and representing your family and your country in the best way that you can. You do your best to be a good person every day in all your actions. The I is for integrity. This means that you do the best to tell the truth and be truthful in your actions. The P is for personal courage. Sometimes courage is needed to do all those things, to stand up to your fears, to threats, and to bullies. You might need the courage to maintain your integrity and tell the tough truth and accept responsibility for your actions. Living and exemplifying those values may not always be the coolest thing to do, and sometimes it may be the most challenging and the most difficult thing you will ever have to do in your life. Sometimes you'll have to dig deep. You'll have to have grit. You're going to have resilience in order to live all of your personal values. Maintain that personal courage to keep trying and doing it even when it's scary or it's not popular. Courage takes practice, so don't let your fears stop you from achieving your very best. So in conclusion, again, it is very much my honor to have the privilege to address you from Korea on this Veterans Day of 2017. I'm deeply inspired by our younger generations. I do not envy the tough challenges and troubles that you might have to face in your lifetime, but keep in mind that America has endured tough times in the past and survived and even thrived. Our country has a knack to become stronger and even more united when faced with those challenges. I feel with courageous future leaders and loyal citizens just like you, I feel that America will continue to evolve and continue to give opportunities that few other countries are able to offer. My hope and challenge to you is that you'll take heed of my thoughts and you'll apply them in your daily lives. I challenge you to treat everyone just a little bit better. That you will treat all people with dignity and respect, including people with different points of view. And as a team, you'll decide what is best for your communities and the country. I hope that you will be more loyal and honest with your friends, and more loving to your family, and respectful to your classmates, to your communities and country. I hope that you will have the courage to stand up to the bullies on behalf of your classmates. I hope that you will do your very best every day to do the right thing, even when people are not watching. And most of all, I want to thank you on behalf of all the veterans, the living and the past. I want to thank you for your support. Thanks again for your time, for your attention, and your personal action to make the world a better place for everyone. And a special shout out to a special little 8th grader. And with that said, Hua, Army Strong, and Go Chargers. This is Lieutenant Colonel Chris Peterson signing off from Korea, out here.